Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to my channel. This time we're going to be doing another video on the Gran Turismo preview build, and this time we're going to be taking a look at the licenses. So that includes the license tests and also hopefully the prize cards if we can get all gold on them. So first of all, of course, is the B license. You can't do the A or International A license without doing the B license first. We're going to jump straight in and I'm just going to show you a quick overview here. Give you some of the highlights basically. But before we actually get into the tests themselves, one thing I want to show you guys that I noticed was, if we come down to records here, you can see that it says Gran Turismo, this game record holder maked by random. So obviously in the final build, I think it says GT Gold, GT Silver and GT Bronze. So let's go ahead and see if we can beat the target time. So we passed, which is good, but I'm not sure what the gold time is. Oh, there we go. So we have the gold prize, and as you can see that the icon, the trophy, whatever you want to call it, isn't in fact gold. It's more of a silver colour. The reflections are pretty crazy. And of course, when it first appeared on screen, it did a load of like crazy flips and things like that. It's much slower on the final build. The target time for the first test on this preview build was 33.583 seconds, when on the final game, it was actually increased to 34.750. So on the final game, it's actually a bit easier to get gold. Moving on to B2, as you can see, we managed to pass that one again. Let's see how we did. So brilliant, we managed to get the gold prize, that is fantastic. So we got a 26, what did we get? Oh, by the way, so I did notice that you have to keep putting in your name over and over again. It doesn't save it like it does on the final game. So the target was 26.183, we managed to do it, which is great. On the final build, the target time was 26.4. So again, another harder license test than it appears in the final build. Moving on, of course, to test A3. See what we managed to get here, a 28.232. Not sure what that means at the moment. So we got silver. As you can see, the silver prize looks exactly the same as the gold prize. See if I can get bronze after and I'll show you how different that looks. So what we need to get here is 28.190. On the final build, it was 28.150, so it's actually made slightly harder in the final game. So I do actually remember this one being particularly difficult, I have to say. On the final game, that is. Oh, here we go. So here's the bronze prize. As you can see, it still looks silver with some crazy reflections, but actually slightly darker in colour than the gold and silver trophies. So here we go, we're just going to keep going until we manage to get gold, because I think it's pretty doable. So let's see how we get on here. So there we go, we got a 27.7 and that gives us the gold prize, which means that we can move on to B4. First thing I actually noticed was something about the car itself. So if I just look to the front of the car, you can see like a bit of like a silver strip between the headlights there and the front grille. Now I'm pretty sure that this was all black on the final build of the game. I know it's only a really small change in the car model, but it just stood out to me for some reason, so I thought I'd mention it. So there we go, we got bronze again. The target was 24.612. On the final game, it was actually 24.8, so on this preview build, at this stage of the game's development, you were actually required to go 0.2 faster to get gold. So it seems to be a pretty consistent theme that the gold times were actually slightly more difficult to get in this preview build, which means that they made them easier by the time the games were released. But obviously I'm pleased to say that we were able to get gold anyway, so hopefully, if I can just do it for the final few tests, we can see what the prize car is. On the first video I did about this build, the Dodge concept car was actually available to buy, so that got me thinking, I wonder if it was actually swapped out for something else at this point in the game's development in terms of the prize car for getting all golds on the B license. So hopefully we can see what the prize car is. So here we go, just trying to get gold on this one. So that's 23.391 and I'm pleased to say that we did get gold. So that is fantastic. So target time was 23.453, target time on the final build was 23.650, I just have them written down in front of me. So, about 0.2 quicker you're required to go on this beta build, making it actually quite a difficult test. It did take me a few goes. I Didn't actually put them all up, but it did actually take me quite well to do that one. So moving on to the first test on High Speed Ring with the FTO. Again, we got gold first time. I'll double check the records to see what the time was required. So it's 26.182 on the final build. It was 26.350. So not too much difference there. To be honest, it's a really easy license test. I actually think it's harder not to get gold. And the same goes for the next one as well with the Nissan Silvia. I mean, you're almost going flat around these corners. You're lifting off the throttle a little bit, but there's no real need to brake. So, to be honest, as long as you can keep it tucked into the curb on the inside of the corner, you've got a good chance of getting gold, really. So the target time on the final build for this was 25.750. So let's see what it is on this beta build. Well, we managed to get gold with, I missed what time I did there. Was it 25.4? Let's have a check. I'll just put my name in again for the 100th time. There we go, 25.471. So yeah, again, a couple of tenths quicker than that's required on the final build for a gold time. And here we are now, we've come to the final test on the B license. Again, hopefully we can pass it with gold standard as well, just so we can see the prize car straight away. So if you remember from playing the game yourselves, it's an entire lap of High Speed Ring in the Mazda Miata MX-5, or the Unos Roadster if you like. So the target time for this on the final game was a 1:19.5. Again, I don't know what it is here yet, but I'll set a time and we'll see what happens at the end. You know, we can do it as many times as we want and we can always improve it, I'm sure. Unless it's completely unattainable, that is, which I hope it isn't. So again, nothing too difficult about this, to be honest. High Speed Ring is probably a track, if you're like me, that you drove countless times when you were younger, if you played that game. So, almost finished the lap now, coming through to the final corner. Don't bother braking here, just lift off a little bit if you need to. And then you're onto the final stretch, and it's a race to the line. Just let the car kind of drift out on the exit. You might want to touch a curb, but don't hit the grass because it'll slow you down, obviously. So there we go. So we got a 1:16.394, and that gives us the gold prize, which is brilliant, which means we have all golds on the B license now. So just put our name in, and as always, I will check the records afterwards. Oh, so we get the B license, but the B license doesn't actually exist there. Obviously on the final game, it's an actual kind of, but actually looks like a license plate, really, with the B license on. So we'll check the records. Target time was a 1:16.7. Target time on the final game, just to remind you, was a 1:19.5. So it's pretty much 2 seconds different. In fact, more than. Pretty much 2 seconds different. In fact, slightly less than. So now it's time. I'm pretty excited to see what the prize car is for getting all golds on the B license. So let's go ahead and check our garage, and it's the TRD 3000 GT. So that was actually the reward car for the A license in the final game. So it's been shifted down to the prize car for the B license. So that makes me wonder whether the Nismo 400R is now in fact the prize car for the A license, and then the prize car for the international A license was just something different altogether. So I wonder. Just have a quick check of the racing modification. Yeah. It is the same as on the final game, which isn't hugely surprising. I'm trying to think whether the wheels might be slightly different there. Maybe, I'll have to double check. Anyway, the car looks exactly the same unmodified, which is a bit of a shame, because on the trial version demo, the tone of grey was actually slightly lighter than it was on the final build, but it looks like they'd sorted that out already at this time of the game's development. So it does look like it's slightly later than the trial version, should I say. Okay, so we're going to carry on with the license test, and we're going to go straight for the A license now. The first test is the final corner and the first corner of Deep Forest in a Toyota Supra. Now, I always remember this one being slightly more tricky than the equivalent tests on the B license, so cutting out the final corner, so just the first corner of Deep Forest in the Nissan Silvia and the Mitsubishi GTO. In comparison, the Supra tends to oversteer a bit more, and potentially understeer a little bit more as well, so it was always slightly more challenging for me, and it's much easier to kind of get into a skid like I did there. In fact, that was a pretty horrible first attempt, so I'd be very, very surprised if this got gold, or even silver, to be honest. But again, we don't know what the records are. Oh, so there we go. We got the bronze prize. It is, again, it's pretty dark in colour. Even perhaps slightly darker than it was on the B license, actually. Which is pretty strange. Just enter my name again, obviously, as we have to do each time, because it doesn't save it. So, okay, so we're really far down. We're in 6th position. So the target time is a 31.9. On the final game, okay, so I've got it written down in front of me here. So the target time on the final build was a 32.4. So that is a good, wow, that's pretty crazy. That's a good 4 or 5 tenths quicker. And I mean, most of the time that wouldn't be too much of an issue. For example, if you were doing a full lap or at least a few corners, but here, you pretty much have to find almost half a second in one corner. I am discounting the final corner of the track, which is obviously the first corner you face on this license test, because you're just flat out through it, so there's no real way that you can optimise it, at least not for half a second anyway. So I managed to get my time down to a 32.3. Target time on the final build, as I say, is 32.4, so that would have actually got me gold on the final version of Gran Turismo. And I managed to also get it down to a 32.2, so that's 2 tenths under the target time on the final build, but not even good enough for silver on this build of the game. So I think, guys, what we're going to do is we might have to leave this one for now and come back to it, because I'm not even particularly close, you know, between 2 to 3 tenths off, which is, as I say, quite a lot to find in a corner, just one corner. So we're going to carry on to session 2. We'll come back to that at some point and we'll try and beat it, but to be honest, 31.9 looks pretty impossible, if I'm honest. So here we go. Next test now. Target time for this on the actual build of Gran Turismo was a 24.760. Oh, by the way, we get the silver prize, which doesn't actually have an icon, which is weird because it did on the B license, just not on the A license, it seems, which is really strange. So let's take a look at the records. Oh, so we were really close. Not bad for a first attempt. So target time was a 24.6. As I say, target time on the final build was a 24.7, so only about a tenth different. So, again, license test that's slightly harder. Not as hard as license test A1, but still fairly difficult overall. So there we go. We got a 24.5, and for some reason the gold prize is really, really dark. Doesn't look gold at all, which is quite weird. Okay, it looks like, I think we can safely say that they hadn't finished designing the license. I don't even know what to call them. I call them like icons, but I know that's the wrong terminology really. Whatever the case is, let's move on. Okay, target time for this one is a 42.8. So 42.8 dead. So 800 on the final build of the game. So as always, just my first attempt is a bit of an exploratory lap. If I need to improve on this, I will. I always thought it was weird how on this license test the start grid and the start finish line was missing, which is really, really strange. I thought they'd just used the same track really, but obviously they made some alterations to it. So here we go, around the final corner. That wasn't too bad. A little bit slidey maybe. I do try to keep the car quite smooth and level. So we got 41.9, which gives us the silver prize. Okay, so let's have a look at the records then, because that would have been gold on the final build. Okay, so the target time is actually 41.844, so that's like almost a full second quicker in comparison to the final game. But hopefully, I mean, considering our first attempt there, I don't think it will cause us too many problems. So there we go, we passed with 41.783, which was fantastic. It only took me 2 attempts. I'm glad it didn't take us too much longer, because I really want to kind of rush through, well, not rush through these, but get through these so I can do a video which isn't overly long. So here we go, I have to pay my respects to this license test. Back in the day, this was one that really kind of caught me out. This was one of the final license tests that I managed to complete in gold. If not the final one, actually. Which is funny, because on the International A license, obviously you're doing full laps of tracks there, and you know, anything could go wrong. You could do a perfect lap and mess up the final corner. But here it's only a collection of a handful of corners around Trial Mountain. But hopefully I am experienced enough at the game to be able to bypass this without too many problems. So, okay, we got the gold prize now, which is fantastic. I'll just put my name in once again, and we'll check the records. So I actually did a couple more attempts, which I didn't show you. So look how close those 3 times are. So the target time was a 37.297. On the final build, it was a 37.4. So it gives you about another tenth to play with, making it harder again on this build of the game. So yeah, just to reiterate, really, it does seem like they made a lot of the license tests a little bit easier on the final build of the game. I mean, some of the target times are, well, I'd say only one has been pretty insane so far, which was license test A1. The other ones are all doable, but are definitely harder due to them being due to you having a shorter time limit. Again, we're going to take a look at the records. So target time was a 30.1. We managed that. Target time on the final build was a 30.2 dead, so 30.200. Just seems like they basically rounded it up, really. Target time being a 30.17, they just rounded it up to a 30.2, so pretty much as near as makes no difference. The same target time to go for, really. Now we move on to a section of Deep Forest with Toyota MR2. That was a pretty clean run, actually. I was quite impressed with that. 25.6, which again was luckily enough for gold. Fantastic. So put our name in, check the record, you know how it goes. So target time was 25.8 on the final build. It was actually 26.1, so about 3 tenths different. 2 or 3. So back to one of the more unique license tests. You're on a section of Grand Valley with the Subaru Impreza, but you're basically just going around in a circle. So we passed with a 28.3, and that is only bronze. Now that's weird. So I remember the target time on the final build at least being a long time after that. So let's have a look. So we got a 28.3, the target time was a 27.785. Target time on the final build was a 29.5. So the target time on this build of the game, at this stage of the game's development, was almost 2 seconds quicker. That is, again, going to be a lot of time for me to find. So with my 28.3 there, that would have actually been easily enough for gold on the final game. So I think that might be another one that we have to leave for a while. We come back to it, because that is going to be really challenging. No wonder it was changed. Okay, moving on to the next license test. So good news is we passed, and we got gold as well. Fantastic. Let's check the records and just see how much we beat the target time by, and how much it differs to the final game once again. But of course we get the A license. The A license itself doesn't actually exist again there, much like the B license. I'm going to check the records, and the target times are 105.256. On the final game it was a 105.6 dead, so again, more challenging, about 4 tenths, 3.5 tenths quicker you're required to go. Obviously no prize card to check this time because we couldn't do every single license test on gold, unfortunately. I really wish that I could have done. My assumption is that the prize car is the Nismo 400R, but of course I will go back to it. I will keep trying to do those final 2 tests, but as I say, they are very difficult due to the times being more demanding of the player than on the final game. Okay, so the International A license now. First test is at High Speed Ring, similar to the final test of the B license, of course, but now we are in a TVR Griffith instead of a Mazda Unos Roadster. So on our first go we got silver. There was actually no trophy again there. So the target time is a 103.726. On the final game it's 103.990. So again, you're required to go a couple of tenths faster in order to get gold. Bronze prize, again, looks pretty similar to how it looked on the A license. So basically pretty dark. So we're going to have another bash at this. I'm not sure at this point where I could have saved time. Just trying to save time in every single corner basically. We had 2 dabs on the brake there, which wasn't ideal. But just let the car run wide onto the curb. And now we're coming up to the next sequence of corners, the little chicane. I think I always found this probably the most tricky part of the lap, due to them being pretty much the lowest speed corners really. On the rest of it, you can pretty much fly around without too many problems, but here you've really got to kind of slow down and accelerate gently out the corners. Coming up to the final turn, we are going to brake now. We didn't brake with the Mazda, but of course the Griffith is a faster car, and we will brake. Again, touch the curb on the exit, don't touch the grass. Just trying to feed the steering out, just let the car accelerate and run to the line. So that's a 103.6, so that should be gold by my calculations. Oh, so there's no gold no gold prize this time, missing once again. Which is, it's really weird how that differs between different licenses, because in theory, it's just one for gold, one for silver and one for bronze, and you apply them throughout all the license tests, so yeah, pretty weird. So anyway, we have gold, and now we move on to Special Stage Route 5 in the Dodge Viper. I always thought it was quite strange that this the International A license only used, I think, just 2 cars, the TVR Griffith and the Dodge Viper. Really weird that they didn't make use of more cars, in my opinion. But anyway, so we've nearly finished the lap now, so run to the line. And what's our time going to be? So it's 29.0. Again, don't know what that means so far. It doesn't feel that fast. Oh, but we did get gold, which feels quite generous, really. I don't think that was a perfect lap by any stretch of the imagination. So target time was actually a 1:29.7, so we beat it by a good 7/10 there. On a final build, the target time was a 1:26.350. So, wow, that's like 2.5 seconds quicker that you're required to go on the final build this time. So it seems like, at least on that license test, I don't know about the other ones yet, that some of the times might actually be a little easier on the player, and they're actually made more difficult on the final game. So license test, IA3, so we get gold once again, fantastic. We'll check the records. On the final build of the game, target time for gold was 1:57.880. Here it's a 1:59.496. So, yeah, a good second and a half slower, actually, which is surprising. So, we carry on. At least that makes it easy for us to unlock whatever the prize car might be from this. As I say, I've really got no idea what it could be. It was the Nismo 400R in the final game, if my memory serves me correctly. I think it was the concept car, then the TRD 3000 GT, and then finally the Nismo 400R for the International A license. But my assumption is that, as I say, the Nismo 400R is actually the prize car for the A license on this. So again, we passed with gold, again, which seems very generous. I think that was only my first or second run. So, yeah, I think it must be quite easy again. So the target time was 1:24.4. On the final game, it was a 1:18.6. So tougher on the final game once again. Yeah, so really strange. On the first 2 licenses, the target times were tougher in this build of the game and were made slightly easier on the final build. But on the International A license, aside from the first test, it seems like that was reversed. And actually, a lot of the gold times, should I say, were actually easier to get on this build of the game and were actually made more difficult once the final game was released. So, yeah, really strange, but still, I mean, as I say, going through them, I'm only making like 1, 2, maybe 3, probably not, probably 1 or 2 attempts each time. I've obviously edited it down for you guys, so you don't want to sit through all that, I'm sure. But it's not actually taking me long to basically get the time that's required for gold. I'm not doing a perfect lap by any stretch of the imagination. So we're going to put our name in. We got gold once again, I'm sure you saw, so let's have a look at the records. Target time was a 1:20.6. Target time on the final build was a 1:20.2, so we still smashed it. We absolutely smashed it with a 1:19.1. But here, so on the beta, target time was actually only 0.4 faster. Target time was actually only 0.4 slower, rather than a bigger chunk of time that we've seen on other license tests. So okay, on to Trial Mountain now with the Dodge Viper. I was disappointed in this because I feel like I took the final corner way too safe. Just wanted to make sure I finished the lap, really. So a 1:30.4, I don't think that would be good enough for gold on the final build, but it's good enough for gold once again here on this preview build. Target time on the final build was a 128.540. Here, it was a 130.6, so a lot different. Over 2 seconds slower, so a lot easier. And it was made a lot more difficult by the time the final game was released. Again, special stage, Route 11 here. I wasn't happy with my lap, to be honest. It was a really scrappy lap. As you can see, I even hit the wall coming out of the penultimate corner, the little chicane there. So I wasn't particularly happy with it. I was pretty much ready to do it all again. But let's see what happens. So 207 and we get gold once again. Meaning that we don't in fact have to do it again, even though probably I should have had to. So target time was 207.395. We only just made it. Target time on the final build was a 206.330. So pretty much, as near as makes no difference, a second faster. And again, I mean, there's a theme to this now. I actually messed up the final corner once again on the final license test. As you can see, like, my car actually got really quite unsettled on the way in when I was braking to the final corner. I don't think I braked in a straight enough line, and that just sent the car a bit out of balance. But we managed to recover. We got into a bit of a drift, but again, we managed to get gold, which is very lenient of the game to allow me to get gold for that. So we get the IA license, which is fantastic. Obviously, it doesn't exist in physical form once again. And this time we get the new machine, which I'm really, really excited about. But just before we check that, we're going to check the records again. Target time is 2 minutes. On the final build, is a 155.4. So a good 5 seconds quicker you're required to go. So here we go, guys. I know I've been waiting for this moment, and I know you have. I don't think it's going to be a completely new car. That would be ridiculous. I think it is going to be a prize car that we know about of some sort. So here we go. Are you ready? I'm going to click on the garage, and it's the Viper GTSR. I can't believe it. Oh my god. So the Viper GTSR is the prize car, or was once the prize car for all golds on the International A license. You know what, I sort of understand why they did it, because to me at least, it's the best car in the game. And if you don't think that, I hope you'll at least consider it to be one of the best cars in the game. The only sad thing is that you wouldn't be able to unlock both the blue and white and green and white colour schemes, just one of them. Which is a bit of a shame, really, I think. But anyway, so I wonder why they changed it. Maybe that played into it. But of course, with the Nismo 400R, you can't really unlock all the colour schemes unless you create new save datas and transfer them all over to one save anyway. So either way, you're going to miss out on some colour schemes. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed watching. Hopefully we'll get that A license done in all gold at some point, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's going to take me a little while. Once again, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.